Have you noticed how so many people talk about manifestation these days? I was listening to the radio the other day, and there was a radio DJ just talking about how she was manifesting something in her life. And it just stood out to me how this gets brought up quite a lot in the mainstream. And we have things like vision boards and affirmations and the law of attraction, and the idea that if you want something strongly enough and clearly enough, and you visualize that you actually already have it, then the universe is going to deliver it to you. Now, I think that all of this is pointing us in completely the wrong direction. Because if you look at the ancient wisdom traditions, they all seem to be suggesting that the very mechanism that this manifestation culture relies on is the same mechanism that keeps us suffering. So today I want to talk about why that is, and I'm going to offer something better. In one of the early Buddhist discourses, the Buddha asks a simple question. He asks, is what is impermanent satisfying or unsatisfying? And his answer is very clear. They are unsatisfying. And that is because if something can be gained and it's impermanent, then it will also be lost. So it's not saying that beautiful things aren't beautiful or we don't get pleasure from pleasurable things, but it's saying that whatever arrives will eventually depart. And any happiness built on impermanent things does have an expiry date. Now think about what manifestation is asking you to do. It's asking you to desire impermanent things more intensely. It's asking you to focus your attention and your desire and your morning routine maybe on acquiring these things that when you get them will immediately start to fade or to need replacing. Whether it's a new car or a better body or a dream relationship, then the moment you get it, you'll have this dopamine spike. And then after time, that will just settle back to become the new normal, and your mind will move on to chasing after the next big thing. And the Bhagavad Gita says something interesting. So it's telling the story of Arjuna, a warrior who is about to go into battle with armies facing each other, and he's frozen with anxiety. And Krishna says to him, your right is for action alone, never for the results. This is called nishkama karma, action without attachment to the outcome. It's not telling us to not act, and it's not telling us that we can't have goals. It's telling us to act fully and with our whole heart, but then we lose the grip on the desired outcome. This is almost the exact opposite of manifestation, which tells us to fixate on the outcome and to visualize it and to call it in. The Gita says that the moment that you make the outcome the point, then you've already lost something essential, because you've handed your peace over to circumstances that are beyond your control. Jesus said something very similar in the Sermon on the Mount. He said, consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They toil not, neither do they spin. And then later he said, do not be anxious for the morrow. There is something in this image that cuts through the anxiety of the manifestation culture, because underneath the mood boards and the affirmations, there is always this underlying fear that what if I don't get what I want? What if the universe doesn't deliver this to me? The lilies don't have that terror, and Jesus is pointing to a way of being in the world that is aligned and goes with the flow of reality. It doesn't depend on forcing nature or reality to cooperating with what we want. And this connects to the Taoist concept of Wu Wei, or effortless action. The Tao Te Ching says, the Tao does nothing, yet nothing is left undone. The spider doesn't plan its web, the river doesn't map its way to the sea. Everything just happens with extraordinary precision, and we are part of that nature. Now, what we don't want to do is to pretend that we don't have desires, or that we wouldn't rather things be a certain way. Alan Watts made a point that I think is quite liberating. He said that trying to force yourself not to worry is just another form of grasping. Now you're trying anxiously to not be anxious, and you're clinging to the idea of non-attachment. The invitation isn't to suppress your desires or to pretend that you don't have concerns. It is about watching all of that as it arises and sitting with it and allowing it, and then acting from a place that isn't driven by the grasping. So where does this leave intention? Well, I think an interesting area to think about now is placebos. You know, research has shown that placebos really do work. So if a patient needs treatment and they're given a placebo pill, so a pill that has nothing in it, and the patient knows that there's nothing in it as well, then the placebo still has an effect. Open label placebo trials, they're called, which tells us something interesting. It tells us that the placebo isn't working through deception, it's working through intention and the ability to orient our mind towards something. So I started experimenting with this. I take 3 supplements every day, and I started assigning something to each one: presence, contentment, and confidence. And these aren't things that the universe needs to deliver. They are things that I can cultivate myself in any moment, regardless of the external circumstances. And something about that small daily ritual, that orienting of the mind towards something, actually seems to help. And I'm not claiming magic here. I'm saying that intention, aimed inward towards quality of being rather than conditions in the world, seems to work differently. I think the problem with manifestation isn't so much about intention itself, it's about the target. When you aim your intention at external impermanent things like wealth and status and relationships, then you are aiming at moving targets. And even when you hit them, the Buddha's question still stands: is what is impermanent ultimately satisfying? But what if you redirected that intention inward, toward peace, toward presence, toward cultivating more compassion to the people around us? These aren't things that the universe has to deliver. They are available to us right here and right now. And importantly, they don't fade the same way that external things do. The contentment that manifestation promises, that feeling of aliveness and ease and abundance, that is actually available to us right now, not just after we get a new car or get a new promotion or a new relationship. It is available as long as we let go of the grasping that manifestation encourages. So maybe instead focus on the one thing that you actually can manifest right now in this moment before anything changes: the quality of your own awareness. If you're interested in exploring ideas like this further, then watch this video next.